First contact and miscalculation. The Vraxian scout vessel Eternal Vigilance drifted silently at the edges of Sol's heliosphere, its quantum-diffused hull rendering it virtually invisible to what High Commander Zorik believed were primitive scanning technologies. 6 eyes blinked in sequence as he studied the holographic display of the third planet, Earth. Record observation log. Zorik instructed the ship's eye. Day 94 of surveillance. The primates continue their rudimentary attempts at space exploration. Their orbital platform remains confined to low planetary orbit. Several primitive satellites circle their world, and they've managed to place basic probes on their nearest celestial neighbor. No evidence of faster-than-light understanding. Assessment. Technological Level 2. Pre-Unification Society. Recommendation. Maintain standard observation protocols for another solar cycle before considering resource acquisition options. Science Officer Telva approached with her data tablet. Her scales shimmered under the dim bridge lighting as she moved with the characteristic precision of all Vraxian military personnel. "Commander, I've completed another analysis of their communication networks," she reported. "They're still using electromagnetic radiation for data transmission." Quaint, really. Their entertainment broadcasts are particularly amusing. They imagine space-faring species as either benevolent teachers or monstrous conquerors. Zorik's mouth ridges vibrated in what passed for amusement among the Vraxians. The Empire will be pleased. Another primitive species to eventually bring into the fold. Their planet has abundant resources and a compatible atmosphere for our needs. What's most interesting, continued Telva, is how they continuously point their detection arrays outward, searching for life among the stars. They've been doing it for nearly a century, yet they haven't noticed us hovering right here. The ignorance of the technologically inferior is a constant across the galaxy, Science Officer. The voice speaking perfect Vraxian came not from anyone aboard the ship, but from the communications array. Zorik froze, his exoskeleton stiffening with shock. "What was that?" he demanded. "Check our systems for malfunctions." "No malfunctions detected," replied the ship's eye. "Transmission origin. Earth," Telva whispered, her scales paling. "Impossible," hissed Zorik. "They can't possibly have detected us, much less learned our language." "Actually," the voice continued, sounding almost conversational, "we detected your first scout ship 27 years ago. The one that thought it was being stealthy when it collected atmospheric samples. Did you really think we wouldn't notice the localized gravitational anomaly 30 kilometers above the Pacific Ocean?" The bridge fell silent as the Vraxians struggled to comprehend this information. "This is High Commander Zorik of the Vraxian Empire scout vessel Eternal Vigilance. Identify yourself," he finally managed, his voice projecting authority despite his confusion. "Commander Sarah Hayes, Earth Defense Force. Though honestly, the title is a bit formal for my taste. You can call me Sarah." Zorik exchanged glances with Telva. "How are you communicating with us? Your species doesn't possess quantum entanglement technology." A soft laugh came through the speakers. "See, that's the problem with your approach. You look at our public infrastructure, our civilian technology, and you make assumptions. Bad practice. Commander." "Science Officer, scan for the source of this transmission," ordered Zorik. Telva worked frantically at her console. "Commander, I can't locate it. Wait, I'm detecting something approaching from the planet." The main display shifted to show a small object accelerating toward them from Earth. It appeared primitive, little more than a metallic cylinder with basic propulsion systems. "Is that a probe?" Zorik couldn't keep the disbelief from his voice. "Oh, that's just our way of saying hello," replied Commander Hayes. The seemingly primitive probe suddenly accelerated to impossible speeds, covering the remaining distance in seconds. Before Zorik could order evasive maneuvers, it took up position 100 meters from their hull. "Scan it," he commanded. "Sir, I'm not detecting any significant power signature. It appears to be." Telva's report was cut short as the probe transformed, unfolding into a complex array of instruments that immediately bathed the eternal vigilance in a web of energy the Vraxians had never encountered before. Ship systems began shutting down one by one. Gravity fluctuated. Emergency lights flickered. "What is happening?" demanded Zorik as his crew scrambled to regain control. "A demonstration," came Commander Hayes' calm voice, still somehow transmitting clearly despite their communications array being offline. "You see, Commander, Earth has a rather unique approach to interstellar relations." The main display flickered back to life, but it wasn't showing the probe anymore. Instead, it revealed what had been hiding beyond the Eternal Vigilance's detection range, a massive Earth vessel. Its design was unlike anything in the Vraxian database. It wasn't elegant or symmetrical like Vraxian ships. It looked almost utilitarian, with sections that seemed to prioritize function over form, bristling with what were unmistakably weapon systems. What is that?" whispered Telva. "That science officer is the EDF deterrent. Fitting name, isn't it?" Commander Hayes sounded almost conversational. "One of our older vessels, actually. We brought it out of mothballs specifically for this first contact scenario." First contact. The Empire has protocols for first contact. Zorik found his voice. "This is merely an observation mission. Yes, we know all about your protocols. We've had access to your databases for years. Very thorough, very systematic. Unfortunately, they're based on a flawed premise that you're always the technologically superior party." The display shifted again, showing not just the deterrent but dozens, then hundreds of vessels decloaking throughout the solar system. Some were massive, dwarfing even the largest Vraxian warships. Others were small and agile. All of them were clearly armed. "This is impossible." Zorik's mandibles clicked rapidly in distress. "Your species hasn't even achieved planetary unification. You're still using combustion engines for ground transportation." "Actually," Commander Hayes replied, "we achieved faster than light travel 81 years ago. We just didn't see any reason to tell anyone." "Why?" was all Zorik could manage. "Why the deception?" "Simple, Commander. Humanity has a long history of being underestimated. We've learned to use that to our advantage. While civilizations like yours focus on standardized development paths, we took a different approach. We keep our advanced technology hidden while maintaining a facade of primitive development." The probe that had disabled their systems suddenly reactivated their main computer, displaying a star chart. It showed Earth, but also highlighted 23 other star systems. "These are the civilizations we've already made peaceful contact with," explained Hayes. "Species who approached us with diplomacy rather than condescension. We have thriving trade relationships with all of them." "Then why reveal yourselves to us now?" asked Zorik. "Because your empire has been getting too aggressive with its observation missions lately. Your ships have been scanning our population centers, testing our defenses. We don't appreciate that." Zorik's mind raced. The implications were staggering. If humans had achieved this level of technology while maintaining the appearance of a pre-FTL civilization, what else were they capable of? "What do you want from us?" he finally asked. "Want? Nothing. This is simply a notification. Earth and its allies are to be classified as a protected zone. No further observation missions, no resource surveys, no meddling in our affairs. And if the Empire refuses..." For the first time, Commander Hayes' voice lost its friendly tone. "Then you'll learn why Earth's military doctrine includes the phrase, 'no witnesses, no mercy.'" "Is that a threat, Commander?" Zorik's voice hardened despite his situation. "Not a threat, Commander. A promise. That probe attached to your ship, it could have vaporized you before you even knew it was there. Instead, it's going to safely escort you back to Vraxian space." The probe reattached itself to the Eternal Vigilance's hull, and the ship's systems came back online. Their navigation computer had been reprogrammed with a direct course back to Empire territory. "One last thing, Commander," added Hayes as the Eternal Vigilance began to move, propelled by the probe's energy field. When you report back to your superiors, make sure they understand something. We've been watching you watching us. And unlike you, we've been paying attention. As the Vraxian vessel accelerated away from Sol, Zorik stared at the final image on his display. Earth's enormous fleet arrayed in formation, a silent statement of power that needed no translation. The Empire had severely miscalculated, and Zorik had a feeling they were about to learn just how costly such miscalculations could be. The ultimate rule revealed. The Vraxian High Council chamber buzzed with agitation. 37 senior officials representing the various branches of the Empire chittered and clicked in a cacophony of disbelief and outrage as Commander Zorik's report concluded. Supreme Warlord Kravax, the eldest and most decorated Vraxian military mind in 4 generations, slammed his ceremonial staff against the floor, sending vibrations through the chamber that immediately silenced the council. "This is preposterous," Kravax declared, his voice carrying the gravelly authority of one who had overseen the subjugation of 12 species. A pre-unification society with faster-than-light technology, hidden fleets, alliances with 23 undocumented spacefaring species. Commander Zorik, are you certain your ship wasn't subjected to some form of hallucinogenic attack? Zorik's posture remained rigid despite the implicit insult. Supreme Warlord, I have submitted all sensor data for analysis. The Science Division confirms that the readings are consistent with technologies far beyond what we believe the humans possessed. Science Minister Voth raised a slender appendage. The data appears authentic, though how this is possible remains concerning. The humans have hidden an entire technological revolution from our observation teams for decades. Nonsense, interjected Fleet Admiral Drux. The explanation is simple. Commander Zorik encountered not humans, but some other species using Earth as a forward base, perhaps the Zeth Consortium or the Muriad Collective. They're employing psychological warfare to protect a strategic resource. Kravax considered this a reasonable theory. Earth does possess substantial quantities of rare metals and water. With respect, Zorik said, his voice steady despite interrupting his superior. The beings who contacted us were unmistakably human. Their biological signatures matched our extensive catalog, and the technology they demonstrated, it was unlike anything in our database. Not Zeth, not Myriad. Something entirely new. A tense silence fell over the chamber. Regardless of the truth, Kravax finally declared, we cannot allow this challenge to go unanswered. The Vraxian Empire has never retreated from primitives, regardless of what technological trinkets they may have acquired. Fleet Admiral Drux's mouthparts formed a tight line. I recommend overwhelming force. The first battle fleet is currently on maneuvers near the Cygnus Arm. 30 warships including the dreadnought Inevitable Conquest. More than sufficient to pacify a single system, regardless of what defenses they may possess. Kravax nodded. Make it so. If these humans have indeed achieved the technological level they claim, they will make valuable subjects of the Empire. If they resist, well, there are always other planets with rare metals and water. Commander Sarah Hayes was enjoying a rare moment of peace in her quarters aboard the Deterrent when the alert came through. She sighed, setting down her mug of tea, imported from Proxima Colony, Earth's first extraplanetary settlement, and accessed the holographic display floating above her desk. Talk to me, Arae. She addressed the ship's eye. Vraxian vessels detected entering the outer system. Commander, replied the artificial intelligence, its voice modulated to sound warm and human despite its vast computational capabilities. 30 ships including 1 dreadnought-class vessel. They're not being subtle. Hayes smiled slightly. They never are. Tactical analysis. Standard Vraxian battle formation. They're broadcasting victory anthems on all frequencies, including an automated demand for surrender in 94 languages. Interestingly, most of these are Earth languages they shouldn't know exist yet. They've been studying us longer than we thought. Or they grabbed a linguistics database from somewhere else. Status of our assets. All systems nominal. The Phantom Fleet is in position. Solar defense grid is charged and ready. Project Aegis is standing by. Hayes took another sip of her tea. And our allies. The Arcturian Compact has acknowledged the situation but indicates this is our dance. The Protean Confederation has 3 observer ships cloaked at the Heliopause. The others are maintaining their agreed-upon non-intervention status. Fair enough. This was always going to happen sooner or later. Hayes set down her mug and straightened her uniform. Inform Admiral Chen that I'll be on the bridge in 5 minutes. And ARIA, initiate Protocol Thunderstorm. With pleasure, Commander. Fleet Admiral Drux watched with satisfaction as his battle fleet dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Sol system. The inevitable conquest, 3 kilometers of Vraxian military might, led the formation, its weapon systems already running targeting algorithms on the primitive satellites orbiting the 3rd planet. Status report. Drux commanded. All ships reporting optimal functionality. Admiral. His executive officer responded. No resistance detected. Human communication satellites continuing normal operations. No indication they've even noticed our arrival. The Admiral's mouthparts twitched in amusement. Perhaps Commander Zorik was indeed hallucinating. Proceed with standard intimidation protocol. Target their largest military installations for the initial demonstration. Nothing too destructive. We want submission, not annihilation. Admiral, the sensor officer interrupted. I'm detecting energy readings from the system star. Elaborate. The readings are unusual. There appears to be some kind of structure orbiting the star. Multiple structures, actually, forming a partial sphere. Drux frowned. Show me. The main view screen shifted to display the human star. Around it, previously invisible against the stellar background, a vast network of satellites was powering up. Each one was focusing energy drawn directly from the star itself. What are those? Drux demanded. Before anyone could answer, the communications officer reported urgently. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission. Origin point. The human fleet. What human fleet? There is no. Drux's words died in his throat as the view screen changed again. Where moments before there had been empty space between his fleet and Earth, hundreds of vessels were now visible, having deactivated what must have been incredibly advanced cloaking technology. Put the transmission through, he ordered, his voice suddenly dry. A human face appeared on the screen, female, with dark skin and eyes that reflected no fear whatsoever. This is Admiral Mai Chen of the Earth Defense Force. You are in violation of sovereign space. You were warned. You chose not to listen. That was a mistake. Drux drew himself up to his full height. This is Fleet Admiral Drux of the Vraxian Empire. Your planet is now under Imperial protection. Surrender your primitive vessels and prepare for integration into the Empire. Resistance will result in. Spare me the speech, Admiral. Chen interrupted. We've heard it all before. The Vraxian Empire isn't the first to underestimate humanity, and you probably won't be the last. But I guarantee you'll be remembered as the most regretful. Drux's anger flared. How dare you interrupt? Here's what's going to happen. Chen continued as if he hadn't spoken. In exactly 30 seconds, we're going to demonstrate why Earth has remained independent, despite knowing about galactic civilization for over 80 years. You have that long to order your fleet to withdraw. This is absurd, Drux sputtered. You cannot possibly. 20 seconds. Drux turned to his tactical officer. Weapons status. All systems charged and targeting, Admiral. Awaiting your command. 10 seconds. Chen counted. Fire at will. Drux ordered. The massive Vraxian dreadnought fired first, its main cannon sending a devastating energy beam toward the Earth fleet. But the beam never reached its target. Instead, it seemed to fold in on itself, disappearing into nothingness halfway to its destination. What happened? Drux demanded. I don't know, Admiral, The tactical officer responded, clearly confused. It appears they have some kind of interdimensional defense technology. Our weapons are being redirected. Time's up, Admiral Chen announced. Commander Hayes, you may proceed. The view screen split to show another human. This one with lighter skin and hair the color of Vraxian blood. Gladly, Admiral, Hayes responded with a smile that sent a chill down Drux's spine. Initiating Protocol Thunderstorm. The effect was immediate and devastating. The solar array surrounding the human star pulsed with energy, sending a wave of precisely modulated gravitational distortion through the system. The Vraxian fleet's formation disintegrated as ships were pulled in different directions, their engines unable to compensate for the artificial gravity wells suddenly appearing and disappearing around them. What is happening? Drux roared as the inevitable conquest shuddered violently. Multiple system failures across the fleet. Admiral, his executive officer reported, panic evident in his voice. 7 destroyers already disabled. The gravitational fluctuations are interfering with our quantum cores. Impossible, Drux whispered. No species has mastered gravitational manipulation at this scale. The human fleet began to move, not as individual ships, but as a coordinated organism, each vessel playing its part in a complex battle ballet. They didn't fire energy weapons or launch missiles. They didn't need to. The gravitational distortions were doing their work for them, tearing Vraxian ships apart at the atomic level. Admiral Chen, Drux called, his pride giving way to desperation. This is unprecedented. We can discuss terms. Chen's expression remained impassive. There are no terms. Admiral, you were given a warning. You chose violence. Now you face the consequences. Admiral, the security officer suddenly called out, we have intruders aboard. Multiple decks. How? Our shields are still. The bridge doors hissed open, and Commander Sarah Hayes walked in, flanked by 4 humans in sleek combat armor. They carried no visible weapons, yet the Vraxian security team that moved to intercept them dropped to the deck, writhing in agony as invisible energy coursed through their bodies. Hello, Admiral Drux, Hayes said pleasantly, as if they were meeting at a diplomatic function. I thought we should have this conversation in person. Drux reached for his sidearm, but found he couldn't move. His entire body was locked in place by some invisible force. Don't bother, Hayes advised. Quantum entanglement field. You're not going anywhere. What do you want? Drux managed to ask through immobilized mouthparts. Hayes approached until she stood directly before him. Though she was physically smaller, Drux had never felt more intimidated in his long military career. I want you to understand something, Admiral. Something you'll take back to your empire if we allow you to leave. Humanity has a rule of combat that dates back thousands of years. It served us well against our own kind, and now it serves us against the stars. We call it no witnesses, no mercy. What does that mean? Drux asked, though he feared he already knew. It means that when we fight to win. Completely. We leave no enemy standing who might return with greater numbers. We show no mercy to those who threaten our existence. Hayes' eyes were cold now. Your fleet is being systematically disabled. Your crews are being extracted and placed in stasis. Your ships will be dismantled for study. And you, Admiral, will return to the Vraxian Empire alone, in a single escape pod, with the sensor data of what happened here today. Why would you let me live? Drux asked. Because we need a messenger. Because your empire needs to understand that Earth is not to be trifled with. Because sometimes, Admiral, the most efficient way to avoid a war is to demonstrate that you would unquestionably win it. Hayes stepped back and signaled to her team. Take him to the extraction point. Make sure the pod's data recorders are fully functional. As Drux was led away, Hayes activated her communicator. Admiral Chen, the dreadnought is secured. Beginning data extraction. Excellent work, Commander, Chen replied. Status of the Vraxian fleet. 27 vessels disabled, 3 attempting to retreat to FTL. Let them go. They'll spread the word faster than our friend the Admiral. Hayes walked to the view screen, now showing the remnants of the once proud Vraxian battle fleet drifting powerless among the stars, Earth's forces moving methodically from ship to ship. "Do you think they'll be back?" asked one of her team. Hayes shook her head. "No. The Vraxian Empire thrives on conquest, but they're pragmatists at heart. They don't waste resources on losing battles. They'll find easier targets. And if they don't learn their lesson..." Hayes' expression hardened as she watched Drux being escorted from the bridge. "Then next time, there won't be any witnesses at all." 3 weeks later, a single Vraxian escape pod arrived at the Empire's nearest outpost. The recording it carried spread quickly through the Imperial hierarchy, and within days, a new directive was issued throughout Vraxian space. The Sol system and its colonies were to be classified as Exclusion Zone Alpha. No Vraxian vessel was to approach within 50 light-years under any circumstances. When asked by a junior officer why such extreme measures were necessary, Supreme Warlord Kravax simply replied, "Because, young one, there are predators in this galaxy far more dangerous than us, and the wisest predators know when to leave another hunter's territory unchallenged." The lesson had been learned, and for the first time in its long history of expansion, the Vraxian Empire altered its course. The humans and their ultimate rule would be left alone.